All right, guys. So this video I'm doing today is going to be just about how the day one and day two seeding is going to work for BBR Chicago. We're going to be doing something a little bit different that's been not been done at the other tournaments so far, and I've been talking a lot with Syard about this, and he's going to be implementing something that's very similar, if not the exact same, as what we are going to be doing in BBR Chicago. Uh, Done are the days of the random draw on day one, where you have perhaps a situation where a really good team plays against a really good team on day one, which is sort of not fair to those teams because one of them is going to end up with less points than they perhaps should have, that less points than what would reflect their skill. And ultimately, makes a situation where both teams sort of cancel each other out in terms of points because it's going to end up being a close game. And basically, you have a medal round caliber game on day one, which is not really fair to them because both of those teams are very much probably medal round worthy, and only one of them is likely to make it to the medal round because one of them will lose on day one. So we could both kind of feel that that's not the fairest situation, and we want to try and fix that. So for day one, there is going to be a random draw, but it's going to work a little different. So what we're going to do is we're going to have, let's say we have a list of teams, team A, B, C, and all the way down to K. There's 10 teams in this example, right? What we're going to do is take our teams and see how they've performed over the previous tournaments from Atlanta and St. Louis. So let's say team A has a gold and bronze in the past. Team B has a silver at one tournament, silver at the other. Team C, let's say, for example, has 2 bronzes and so on. And there may be teams at the bottom here who have not gotten any of these, which is fine. So what we're going to do from there is we're going to create 2 buckets, or I'll say brackets. We're going to create 2 brackets. We're going to have an upper bracket and a lower bracket based on previous tournament performance. And what we're going to do then is we're going to draw randomly a team from the upper bracket and a team from the lower bracket, and they're going to play each other. One will be Axis, one will be Allies. And we'll alternate the upper bracket choices, or drawings rather, by Axis and Allies. So, and then we'll go again, we'll draw randomly. Next, the upper team will be Allies, and the lower team will be Axis, so Team B versus Team K. And we'll go all the way down the line like that, randomly choosing, alternating the upper bracket drawings by Axis or Allies. So you don't have a situation where potentially, let's say all the upper bracket teams win on day one, and they're all playing Axis. Well, that's going to kind of throw things off for day two. So this is how it would kind of look after day one. And then what we're going to do then is take those scores, and we're going to basically break it down into 4 brackets. So we'll take the top 3 Axis scores. That'll be the high Axis bracket. Then we'll have the high Allied bracket. Okay, so you have the top 3 scores from the Axis bracket, top 3 scores from the Allied bracket. And then you have your lower Axis bracket, so your bottom 2 Axis scores. So in this example, there's only 10 teams, but I'm just showing how that would work where it's not even. So if we had 12 teams, it would be 3 and 3 on each, the high brackets and low brackets. So you've got your low Axis bracket, teams that scored 4th and 5th for Axis, and then you've got your low Allied bracket, which scored 4th and 5th for Allied scores. And here's where a big differentiation comes, because in the previous tournaments, it was always you had a random draw for day one, and then you took those scores, and then day two, you did the highest Axis score versus the highest Allied score, second highest Axis versus second highest Allies, and down the line. And this is also sort of a situation where you have good teams neutralizing each other on day two, and perhaps teams on the lower end, which are making it to the medal round, which probably wouldn't have won against a better team. So we kind of want to make this a little bit more even so that good teams and lower teams aren't getting screwed on day two. So what would happen then is we would have our highest Axis score. So in this example, Team A is going to play the bottom Allied score, Team F, from the high Axis bracket. So only the high Axis and high Allied brackets are going to be playing each other on day two. So the reason we're doing this is that we still want there to be a challenge on day two. We don't want the top Axis team, Team A, playing the lowest Allied score, Team H, because then it's more likely that Team H has less of a chance against that team. We kind of we want to make it so that day 2 is more challenging, not the same amount of challenge or less challenge. So, and then you'd have the reverse. You'd have the top allies play the bottom axis of the Axis bracket and the Allied bracket. And then you'd have the middle team square off, of course. That makes it easy. So it's basically a crisscross. And then you do the same thing for the lower axis and the lower Allied bracket. The top axis of the lower bracket would play the low allies of the low Allied bracket. I know this all sounds so confusing when I say it, but when you visualize it, it's not that confusing. That's why I made this little graphic. And then you do the same thing. You do your crisscross. So basically, it makes it more even on day 2 for everybody. We feel that makes the most sense. So this is what we are going with for the day 1 and day 2 seeding. We're going to be sort of the pilots and the pioneers of this new way of doing it. I know that Sired is talking about doing something very similar for Atlanta this year. So if you have any further questions about the seeding, let me know. Put a comment below. I did make a video earlier today about just rules. So if you want to see some of the BBR 6 rule changes, go take a look. And yeah, we are, 10 days away from the first game. So in 10 days, we will be rolling some dice. So I can't wait. Can't wait to see you guys all there. And register. Just a reminder, registration closes on the 15th. That's our deadline. It gives us enough time to accommodate all the teams if we have additional teams or less teams. So we just need to know what that figure is going to be so that we have everything in place for the 23rd. All right, guys, I plan to make maybe 1 or 2 more videos before the tournament just to go over everything again, like how clocks work and all of this stuff just one more time to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, take care, everybody.